you and welcome. My name is Mike, and in this video we got one of those. You know, one of those real bizarre cases? Yeah, we got one of them on our hands. Like, this would be a bad movie if it wasn't real life. It's that bizarre. It's the story of June and Jennifer Gibbons, also known as the Silent Twins. Twins often have like close bonds, but this just shoots that right up to 11. You see, the twins, they only spoke to each other in some kind of gibberish, unintelligible language, and they spoke to no one else. They didn't speak to their parents, some of their other siblings, literally anybody else. They were sent to therapists, no one could figure it out, and when they were separated, things just got much worse. That's before we even get into their life of crime and the tragic end. Let's take a gander. June and Jennifer Gibbons were born on April 11th, 1963 in Aden, Yemen. June was 10 minutes older than Jennifer. However, later, Jennifer would seem to be the stronger of the two. She blew a 10-minute lead. Their parents, Aubrey and Gloria, were immigrants from Barbados. The family soon moved to the UK, where Aubrey worked as an RAF technician. They were part of what's called the Windrush generation. After World War II, the United Kingdom found its labour force depleted, and so encouraged mass immigration from Commonwealth countries. In 1948, the British government gave citizenship of the UK and colonies to all people living in the United Kingdom and its colonies, and the right of entry and settlement in the UK. As toddlers, the twins could barely speak 3 or 4 words at most, and when they first started schooling, their parents knew there was a problem.
And they're always shy, and they're not speaking. Well, they spoke, but we couldn't understand what they were saying. Yeah. So that's the trouble. And then when they knew that we couldn't understand, they went back in the shell,
In 1971, the family moved to Devon, and the twins faced racism and discrimination due to their skin color and speech issues. At around age 8, they stopped speaking to their parents and their siblings, whom they had previously responded to. In 1974, when the twins were 11, the family moved again to Haverford West in Wales, and the family moved to a small house on the local RAF housing estate. The place was a bit grim. The twins attended the local school, where they and their brother David were once again the only black students, and where the bullying was so severe the girls had to be dismissed 5 minutes early every day, in order to give them a head start for the walk home. It was around this point that they would only speak to each other, and sometimes their younger sister Rose, no one else, and they would speak in some form of mishmash, a bizarre secret language that only they could understand. As this worried the school staff and their parents, they were sent to see a number of child therapists.
My name is Jennifer. Alright, and again? That's much clearer. Right, let's have it again. My name is Jennifer. Right, you feed this through. My name is Jennifer. Right, good. Now get the next card. I listen to 2 of each, and then I leave you to do the others on your own.
But they remained unresponsive. They did at times talk on recordings after the therapist had left the room, and one therapist discovered it was a mixture of Barbadian slang and English, but spoken very quickly. But they would still not speak to anyone other than each other. When one therapist was in the room, she sensed that June wanted to speak to her, and was stopped only by eye signals from Jennifer, who appeared to control June's actions, and somehow had a form of possession over her. While they were in the company of others, they would remain completely still and just look down. In late 1977, unable to treat the twins, it was proposed that they be split up and moved to separate facilities to try and treat them. That did not go well. Within moments, the twins began screaming and hitting each other, scratching and pulling each other's hair out. They then began speaking to the therapists, promising they would talk only if they weren't parted. However, this lasted all of about an hour, and the next day they were back to their old ways. After being separated and sent apart from each other, the girls became catatonic, becoming completely immobile and not uttering a word. This, being a complete failure, was called off, and the sisters, they were soon reunited. Shortly after, they both left school at age 16. Back at home, they became recluse, never leaving their shared bedroom for nothing. Their mother would have to push letters under the door and left food outside their room. The twins began to create their own family, made of dolls, in their little room. The two girls would also switch identities. "You are Jennifer, you are me," Jennifer would say over the years, when she felt her sister pulling away from their bond. I am June, her sister would respond. One day she'd wake up and be me, and one day I'd wake up and be her, June later said. It was during this time that they both began writing diaries, and they planned on becoming published authors. They also started to reveal a hatred for each other. Jennifer started to become jealous of June, and June even wrote in her diary, "We are both holding each other back. There is a murderous gleam in her eye. Dear Lord, I am scared of her. She is not normal. She is having a nervous breakdown. Someone is driving her insane. It is me." June began writing a novel called The Pepsi Cola Addict, about a teenager who takes up with a gang. Jennifer wrote 2 novels in a matter of weeks. The Pugilist, about a boy with a failing heart whose surgeon father implants in him the heart and soul of their boxer dog, and Discomania, the story of a group of urban youths who were controlled by their need for a disco beat. June's novel got published, Jennifer only got rejected. At age 18, they both started drinking and doing drugs. They began stealing bicycles, they smashed windows, stole books, drew graffiti on walls. At one point, Jennifer tried to strangle June with a radio cord. June attempted to drown Jennifer in a river. At age 18, they were both arrested for attempted arson, and they were sent to prison. There, the twins were confined together, and they truly began to hate each other. Neither could stand the smell, the sight, or the thought of each other. Each began to desire the other's death. When they were together, they wanted to kill each other. When they were apart, they became so lonely they wanted to die. The girls were tried in May 1982 on 16 joint counts of burglary, theft, and arson. They pleaded guilty and were sentenced to prison indefinitely. They were sent to Broadmoor Hospital, which had a reputation as a maximum security facility for the criminally insane. It's a bit harsh to send them to Arkham Asylum, no? They began to once again become completely unresponsive and lethargic, and would go absolutely nuts if anyone tried to separate them. Not long after they arrived, June went into a catatonic state and tried to commit suicide, and Jennifer angrily lashed out at a nurse. Even when they did finally try to communicate with staff, their speech was still a stream of gibberish. Sometimes they would take turns eating. When in separate cells, nurses and doctors would often enter the cells to find them frozen into poses, sometimes very distinctive or bizarre ones, that were exactly the same even though they were in completely different cells and had no contact with each other. This would go on for 12 years, until they both became convinced that one of them had to die for the other to have a normal life. They would eventually make a pact, in that one of them would sacrifice themselves so that the other could be free. In 1993, on the very day that the two were to be transferred to a lower security facility in Wales, Jennifer approached a journalist documenting their case and said to her, "I'm going to have to die. We've decided." During the trip to the new facility, Jennifer entered a kind of trance. At one point, Jennifer rested her head on June's shoulder and said, "At long last, we're out." Less than 12 hours later, she was dead. It was determined that Jennifer had died of a sudden inflammation of the heart, called acute myocarditis. No one could ever really figure out how this happened, as she was young and in good health, with no history of heart issues, and there were no drugs, alcohol, or any sort of poison in her system. June would say of her death, "I'm free at last, liberated, and at last Jennifer has given up her life for me."
After 12 years in captivity, it's a feeling of total freedom. It's unbelievable that I'm actually going out in the big wide world, doing normal things that normal people do. I've been locked up for so long. It's good, feels good. I feel that I'm living for her. This is what she would have wanted, for me to go on living for her. And every day I wake up and say to myself, well, there's one more day for me, but one more day for my sister as well. And I live for her. And what I see and do, she does as well. She's not missing out on nothing because she's with me.
To this day, Jennifer's death, it remains a mystery. After her sister's death, June began speaking normally. She was released from prison a year later and would go on to become a normal member of society and pursued her writing career, although it never really took off. By 2008, she was living quietly in West Wales. She was no longer monitored by psychiatric services and has been accepted by her community and sought to put the past behind her. June reportedly visits her sister's grave every week and continues to take medication for what her doctors believed to be schizophrenia.
My name is June Gibbons, and I have a twin sister called Jennifer, and we're known as silent twins.
The story of the twins, it's absolutely bizarre, and although we know what Jennifer died from, we have no idea how she died from it. She had a perfectly healthy heart, good immune system, but she just died, and how did she know she was going to die? The cause of the twins' bond and the depths it went to is also largely unknown. It's likely they shared some kind of mental illness maybe that was exacerbated when in each other's company. But the fact that they stopped speaking to people, they became catatonic, weird things went on in prison when they were separated, and that when one of them died, the other went on to have a fairly normal life, it still remains an unsolved mystery. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Please subscribe if you wanna and let me know your thoughts on this case down below. I will see you, as always, real soon in the next one. Take care of yourselves. Mike out.